at a minimum, absolutely minimum, you want to make sure you are at least tracking the money you're spending on marketing and the revenue that you're making by every single campaign that you have. And you'll start getting some really good insight into your business. Like I'll give you an example, like, we do a bunch of pay per lead, fast home offers, need to sell my house fast, Liberty leads, Compass data, and there's a couple of others. But every single one that we do, we set up a separate campaign for that. So I can say, all right, I'm going to budget $10,000 towards this campaign, and I'll make a decision after I spend $10,000 whether or not this worked or not, because I feel like that's enough money for me to, make a good decision based on the data that I have, if it worked or not. And same thing for, we did the same thing. Really cool thing we did was on our PPC. What we did was, and we're going to start doing it again in our business. So I have my main website, let's say like abc.com. I set up another dummy, another website in my business. Let's call it like xyz.com. So abc.com was my primary PPC website, but we also started doing PPC on xyz.com. What would happen? And then we set up different campaigns. All I wanted to see was, because when someone is doing PPC lead, what they're typically doing is they will Google, sell my house fast, whatever, Chicago, New York, whatever city they're in. And they're not just filling out your website. They're typically filling out 3 to 4 websites. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to see if we could have our company show up twice, but the property seller would not know, because it's a completely different website, different brand name, different phone number, but we would be able to know that it's the same seller filling a website, 2 forms on our website, on 2 different websites. And then we made about last year $52,000 on this turnkey property that we sold that came from our second PPC website. But we were able to only be able to track that because of the different campaigns that we were using. Otherwise, we would have no idea. If we just lumped everything under PPC, we would not know that it's this campaign that's working. Same thing on like Bing ads, right? If you're doing Bing and PPC, or Google PPC and Bing, you really want to make sure you separate Google from Bing and see how many leads you're getting from each campaign, how much money you're making, how much money you're spending, what's your cost per lead, cost per deal, and for every dollar that you're spending, how much money you're making at the end of the month. So even if you don't have your, for some reason, if you don't have your bank account linked, at a minimum, I would do is I would go into the bank account that you have manually added, click on add transaction. It's the same thing. Instead of linking the bank account where it would automatically pull the amount, whether it was money out, money in, you'll have to fill in some of that information, but you can still do that. ABC marketing, let's say I spent $2,000. This was money out, and this was, let's say, online. And I spend this on my general business, direct mail. And instead of probate, let's say this was my absentee campaign for $2,000. So once I do that, I go back into my KPIs. It will still go ahead and update everything throughout the system. And I've noticed that it went up by $2,000 to my absentee campaign. So it still does everything. Again, the more money that you spend, the more transactions that you have in the system, the much deeper insight you'll get into your business on what's going on. Because again, the point is not about making $1 million at the end of the year, but only having $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 worth of net profit. I would much rather make $700,000, $800,000 and have $250,000, $300,000 worth of net profit, because it's the $250,000 that I was making where I was spending actually more money, or I was like barely breaking even, that I don't need to do that. I would much rather have way more efficient business and focus very, very actively on the net profit than so much on the top line number. I would much rather focus on the my net profit number that I have. And then as you're updating your transaction, you go into the financial for every single property. It's pulling all the data. It's linking data throughout the system. So if you go into the property, any transaction you've made, 4348 North 17th Avenue, you go into the financial tab, it is always there. You can come back anytime. It will be there. If you've added any, attachment to that transaction, the attachment will be there. So if you were to get audited, or you wanted to see, let me see a breakdown of what happened with the transaction, you can always come there and find an attachment for that property. So at a minimum, absolute bare minimum, I would really encourage you guys to start inputting your marketing numbers at campaign level and your revenue number. Like start with that and then keep adding more. Next thing I would do is start inputting. If you have payroll on your team, start putting in the payroll number. Start adding, start with marketing and revenue. And then as you feel comfortable, then start adding additional, marketing and revenue or additional numbers from your transactions with your bank statement into the system.